I want to take this opportunity to welcome you for a special midweek meditation here at the Baltimore Zoo. As you can see behind me, we are having an elephant. This meditation is so special because we're going to be talking about the power of manipulation. Manipulation is actually a spirit, which is like a demonic spirit that controls and influences the behavior of someone. The person manipulating the other is called a manipulator. And the one who is being manipulated is called the target. It is so terrible. And that is why in our society of today, we see some people who are acting like zombies. They cannot take proper decisions when it comes to matters. They can never call a spade because the manipulator manipulates their mind. And the reason behind this manipulation is to conceal the truth of every matter. Yeah. And the targets are always victims because of their leniency and their kindness. And the manipulators always take advantage and exploit them and make them to behave in a very funny way, which is never the truth of matters. And as I said, it's so terrible in our society of today, and that is why we see innocent people are dying, because the manipulators can influence the targets to kill innocent people just for their own personal benefits. It's a very bad spirit, which is a demonic spirit, which our prayer is that the Lord will continue to expose everyone who is there to manipulate you. Now, how can we fight against this demonic power of manipulation? The very first thing is that we need to be aware of the motives. When anyone is bringing something to us, we need to know, first of all, the motives of why they are bringing up an idea. Because when you take a look very well, and we will see that their motives is for their own personal gain. So we need to take time and really interview them very well to see why they are bringing up an issue. And then the second thing we need to do is to avoid pressure. Before you take any decision, make sure that you are not being pressurized, because these manipulators, they pressurize you and forcing you to accept things which are not for your own benefit, but for their own personal benefit. We need to set boundaries and make sure that no one influences us in a negative way. We need to know why they are asking particular questions from us, why they are getting into our personal business, because usually they come like they first of all interview you, get information from you, and then get into your family, get into your life, and begin to manipulate you in a way that you will dance to their own tune. May it not be your portion in Jesus' mighty name. Manipulation is not something that is new in this our days. We see in the book of Acts 5, we see Ananias and Sapphira, how they were trying to manipulate the apostles. They actually said that they were going to sell their land and bring all the proceeds to the church. But finally, they sold that land and they kept half of the money in their pockets and brought only half of it to the church. They were trying to manipulate the church. And finally, when the Spirit of the Lord acted, they lost their lives because of that manipulation. And then again, we see how Eve was manipulated by the serpent. Manipulated Eve to make Eve have the idea and desire to have the knowledge of God. And then the serpent lied Eve to eat of that fruit that was not supposed to eat of it. And then finally, Eve became a victim because of the manipulative power of the serpent and disobeyed God and ate the forbidden fruit. We need to open our eyes in today's society and make sure that all that we are doing is for our own personal gain. And let nobody come into your life and begin to manipulate your home. change the way you see things. The worst thing about manipulation that sometimes the targets, they behave like zombies and don't do what they are supposed to be doing. And in the eyes of others, it's so funny because they can never call a spade a spade. They keep taking decisions in the wrong way just because they want to make these manipulators happy. And at the end of it all, the manipulators are happy because they would have ruined the target's destiny and make them to live a funny kind of life in the world where they never will call a spade and they keep behaving in a very funny way that the whole world is like, what is really happening? Yes, 1 + 1 is never 2. The target will see it. They can, as a matter of fact, kill somebody and the target will not see that they did anything wrong just because their minds were manipulated. May it not be your portion that anyone will come and be manipulating your mind. The good thing is that when you are prayerful, God will always expose these manipulators at the end of it all. But most often than not, it only happens when they have lost almost everything in the world. And that is when now God will expose them. And then most of the targets, they always end up regretting. What was it that happened that they were brainwashed and be manipulated now that they have lost everything? May it not be your portion in Jesus' mighty name. Now, there are some characteristics of these manipulators that no one should be missing out there. If you are out there, watch out for these characteristics. They are liars. They always like to say something that is not true in order to manipulate their captives. Yes, the targets, they always use something that is not true. And they like to keep a grudge for decades. They will use that grudge and bring it in order to manipulate the target. They will say this thing happened 20 years ago. It's because of this and because of that. And then try to be emotional about it, all in a way to manipulate the target's mind. And then they are pretentiously humble. By the time they come to you, the target, they are like so humble, like pretentiously humble, when they are not humble. But when it's that time for manipulation, they pretend as if they are so sweet, they are kind, and we have to watch it and always know their motives when they are coming. As I said, their main motive is for their personal gain. And then they are confrontational. Yeah, they always confront those that they are targeting, those that they want the target to victimize. They always come in a confrontational way to attack people without any reason, just to cause problems. They are problem causers. So we need to be very careful. They are confrontational, and we need to know that, as I said, these people, they have no power because God's power is always above, ready to expose them. All we need to do is just stay focused and be prayerful. Prayerful in all that we do. Be any little thing you say, they misinterpret it. They like to misinterpret stuff, very angry, and they take a little matter, make it big, and all of this to manipulate the target's mind. Thank you so much. But I pray that the Lord will continue to expose our manipulators in all they do. At the end, the innocent ones will be set free in Jesus' mighty name. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.